Welcome to the Jay Kim Show. This is your host, Jay Kim. I am an investor, author, and fitness entrepreneur, and for the first time in Asia, I sit down with the world's most brilliant minds in business, investing, and entrepreneurship. You'll learn all the secrets, strategies, and formulas to becoming a successful entrepreneur directly from the masters. If this is your first time listening, thank you for stopping by. This podcast is produced every week with the goal of providing actionable insight to you, the listener, with every single episode. And now, on to the show. Today's guest is Benny Liu, the mastermind behind the website NextShark.com. NextShark is a news aggregator, and they specifically target the English-speaking Asian youth around the world. His website puts out a lot of edgy, evocative content that's highly relatable if you're part of that target demographic. So Benny shares a lot about his background today, which I found fascinating. He started making money in very non-conventional ways, such as playing online poker, and then jumping into the dark side of internet marketing, which he tells us all about. Since then, he's parlayed those skills into becoming an SEO and social media marketing expert, and he leveraged his niche to build up a site that now drives over 4 million unique visitors a month. I know you're going to enjoy today's episode. Let's jump right in. Benny, hey, how are you?
Good, man. How about yourself?
Doing great, man. Thanks for agreeing to be on this podcast. It's going to be great.
No, awesome, man. I'm excited to be a part of it. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, man. Yeah, Asia, everything's behind here. I'm not sure how. Have you spent any time in Asia, by the way?
Not in recent years. The last time I went to Shanghai and Hong Kong back in 2010. And, I guess, actually, I went to Japan last year, and I'm going to go to Japan and Taiwan this coming December.
Ah, great.
Yeah.
Okay. And your family's originally from Hong Kong, is it? Or?
My family was originally from Guangzhou, but okay. I have family that are based in Hong Kong too. So I've been back a couple times since I was growing up and everything.
Okay, good. Next time you're out here, give me a shout, man.
Yeah,
we'll link up. So, Benny, thanks for coming on to the podcast. I'm excited to have you here on the show. For the listeners, if there's anyone that is current with social media right now, I'm sure you've seen Benny's site, NextShark. I'll let him explain it to you. But why don't we start with who you are, Benny, and what do you do for a living?
Yeah, so I'm Benny Liu. I was born in California, went to UC Irvine in Orange County, California. I started off my career as an internet marketer back in college, and so we did a lot of PPC and search engine marketing, and so.
Can you explain? Sorry, I interrupt a lot, so I hope that's okay.
No, please.
Can you explain what PPC is to our listeners?
Yeah. So PPC is just like pay-per-click marketing, and so it's literally just pay-per-click. If you're let's say advertising on Google AdWords and you're targeting specific keywords and bidding on those specific keywords for your audience to kind of see and click on, that's kind of pay-per-click marketing.
Okay, and so you were doing this during college as like a side gig?
Yeah, and so I worked multiple jobs in college. I mean, my first job was when I was a freshman. I was doing campus marketing for Dell computers, and so I was basically involved with helping increase sales on campus for Dell. And within the first 6 months of me being on board, our school was ranked in the top 10 universities in the nation for quarterly units sold. And I believe at the time we actually beat out Apple in sales for our particular campus. So then year 2, which was my sophomore year, Apple actually poached me, and so I started working for Apple for a little bit. And around that time, I met a guy in class, and he was playing online poker. And I was just kind of like, hey, are you playing for real money? And he was just kind of like, a little arrogant. Just like, yeah, of course I am, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, oh, cool. And then I just like basically blanket statement just asked, oh, how big's your bankroll? And, as college kids, like, we all played online poker. It was legal at the time. And all of us would have like, let's say $50 in our account or $100. It was all for fun. And then this guy was like, oh, I have $250. I'm like, oh, cool. $250. That's so much money. But it was really like 250 grand. And that was kind of like my first like taste of making money online. And so I kind of this guy kind of took me under his wing, and I started learning a little bit of online poker. And naturally, I met a lot of successful people. I mean, in the poker scene and the gambling scene, you tend to meet a lot of successful people that didn't make their money from poker. You know, they're entrepreneurs, actors, celebrities, and whatnot. And so that kind of, you know, gave me my first taste of kind of like the high life and meeting all these high level people that, you know, made it in life. And
so this guy was a classmate of yours, or was he an outsider?
No, he was a classmate of mine. He sat next to me in class. He was a couple years like older than me. I think he was like 3 or 4 years older than me. And the reason why we were in the same class was because he basically was so focused on poker that he basically took a break from school. And after he became successful, his parents kind of forced him to finish up his degree because, you know, Asian degree, parents are like that, you know?
Oh, yeah. There's no negotiating with immigrant Asian parents. You got to do what they say.
Exactly. I guess I would say he's like an early mentor of mine. I mean, he was a family, he came from a family of entrepreneurs, and so he came from a lot of money. And, you know, while my classmates that were, you know, same age as me were like out partying in their frat parties, you know, I was partying with him at like the presidential suite at the Bellagio, you know, during the World Series of Poker Week or something. And so it was a very different experience. And, you know, while I did kind of miss out a lot on the typical college experience, I definitely, you know, made up for it with, you know, living such an interesting life early on by following this guy.
Well, it's like you're living the dream and you're a college student. So this was kind of like your first light bulb moment where you're like, okay, I don't have to go to college necessarily other than appeasing my parents to be able to make money, right?
Yeah, I think after that moment, honestly, like I was focused on trying to get good grades. I mean, I was struggling a little bit. I've never been like that good of a student academically. And, you know, but at the same time, like I knew I wanted some sort of comfort. And so my goal back then, before meeting this guy, was like, hey, I'm going to get a good job, maybe at Dell, just work really hard, and then just, you know, just naturally go up from there. It never fathomed to me of, if I talk about it, it seems like this guy is a complete douchebag, but he was really, but you know, and in a sense he was, but he was also like taught me a lot of things as well. Like, for example, you know, he would say things like, hey, how much money did you make last month? And then I'd be like, oh, you know, I worked at Dell, is getting paid like what, you know, $12-15 an hour or something. So maybe like what, $1,000, $2,000 a month. And he'll be like, my outfit is worth more than that, or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, it didn't fathom to me where people would pay for like, you know, $25,000 watches or, you know, or $500 like luxuries, just like zip up hoodies or whatever. So it just never fathomed with me. And so like when I went into this world, it was just very interesting. It was like a movie to me, you know, of, you know, seeing all these people living in riches and just throwing money like it was nothing. Like I would be attending these poker games where there would be, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash on the table. And, you know, it would just be like really fascinating to me. You know?
Yeah, and it's just sitting there, and then they go to the bathroom, and they just leave the stack there, and no one touches it. You know, that's what.
Yeah, I remember like one of the, you know, I was staying in Vegas with him, and you know, we were about to leave, and then in the corner we see this chip, right? And then we're like, hey, you know, hey, you know, I'm about to leave. I'm just like doing one clean sweep, you know, at the place because I tend to do that. And then he was like, no, let's go. We're in a hurry. I took everything, and then in the corner I see this like yellow chip, and then it's like a $25,000 chip. And so I was just like, oh, wow. you know, what the hell? And so we just like, you know, obviously, you know, he dropped it, and then, you know, we went about our way. So it's just
pocket change, right?
Like interesting things like that you don't really think about. And I'm still a starving student by then, but. So I guess long story short, I got into poker. I got a little bit of success.
So would you say you're a good poker player now?
I would say like I'm above average, but I wouldn't say like I'm a pro. I mean, I did poker well enough to where I was able to buy my first car. So it was just like a used car, like $6,000. I mean,
that's pretty good for a college kid, right?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
I mean, I didn't make like hundreds of thousands of dollars, but I made enough to kind of like, you know, see some mild success. But overall, it really wasn't something that I was passionate in per se. I mean, I was just, you know, on my computer playing multi-tables every day. Sometimes like I would just wake up without brushing my teeth, and I would play until like, like let's say I wake up in the morning for a 9 a.m. like tournament, and then I wouldn't be done until like 7 p.m. and not leaving my seat, haven't brushed my teeth, haven't really eaten, or I would order like, pizza, like really unhealthy.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a lifestyle that I wanted, and I just wasn't leaving the house. It got so bad to the point where I started wearing sunglasses while playing because the light was just irritating my eyes so much at that point.
Okay, so then you're doing this lifestyle, you're grinding away, you're like this the undercover nighttime poker player or daytime whatever, wearing sunglasses. And so what's the next transition to the next point in your life?
So then I would say like maybe junior year came along, and then through my connections and meeting cool people, a friend hit me up one day and he's like, "Hey, Benny, you mentioned that your poker mentor made like up to $50K a month in poker, right?" And I'm like, yeah, why? And he's like, "Okay, well, I want to introduce you to this 16-year-old kid. He makes up to $15,000 a day." And I'm like,
wow,
really? Doing what? And then he was like, he does affiliate marketing. And so basically what he does is he goes to a lot of these affiliate networks and companies that have affiliate programs, and he signs up for them. And then they basically sell his products using his own unique link, and whatever sales that come through, he gets a cut of it.
Right. Which is actually in the world of online businesses, that can be a very lucrative revenue stream. A lot of the big name sort of online business guys out there, there's some guys like, Pat Flynn, they put up their monthly income report, and a large part of that does come from affiliate marketing.
Yeah, exactly. And so, it's a big business. I mean, back then it was really, the reason why I would say now it's a little bit harder to make money, but back then it was really, really easy. And to be completely transparent, a lot of our tactics of driving traffic was like very gray area. And so, hypothetically speaking, let's just say, if I don't know what's a big brand, let's say Nike, right? As an example, had like an affiliate program, right? So me and a team of him and 5 people, the 16-year-old kid, we found a way to not only bid on copyrighted words to drive traffic to our site, but also have our ad rank higher than the official ad of a particular company, because our ads were much higher performing, and we were able to get like really, really good. We were getting 1-cent clicks. That's how good our campaigns were. So
that's really good.
Yeah, and so but obviously a lot of these were like short-term stuff. I mean, like after we would probably get shut down within like a month at max, and then we would move on to the next thing. But it was extremely lucrative. I mean, I think that we would easily make like up to 6 figures a month just off of doing some of these campaigns and whatnot.
Wow.
And
you were working with the 16-year-old guy?
Yeah, dude.
You set up your own thing?
No. We were working with him. Like he basically he took me on as a mentor. I mean, and it was crazy because I didn't really believe my friend at first. I was like, okay, I'll go meet this kid. And so we drove to these luxury apartments. A lot of like celebrities were living there at the time. So we went out to the top floor. The guy literally comes out like with smoking a cigarette with a robe on and his boxers, and he's just like completely drugged out, chilling, and he had an Aston Martin. It was crazy. It was wild. The 16-year-old kid was living like the dream.
Right. So this is like light bulb moment number 2 for you. You're like, okay, wow, poker, you can make a lot of money. This kid, 16 years old, and he's just rolling in it, right?
Yeah, he's just rolling in it like crazy. And so, we were making really good money. But over time, I mean, a lot of these like campaigns were very short-lived. I mean, because we would get shut down, or we got banned from using Google AdWords for a little bit too. It was like,
and you kind of have to stay on the cutting edge because Google keeps changing their algorithm, right? So
exactly.
Yeah.
And so needless to say, that was a great time in my life in a sense where, I was making good money. I was being in a good place. But at the same time, like me and the rest of my friends were way too young to be able to understand money management. And I never was really in a spot where, somebody taught me like money management. I mean, a lot of the people that I saw, like they were very degenerate, and poker players are very degenerate too.
Yeah.
And I was like I was being really stupid with my money. And so was like the 16-year-old kid. I mean, this guy was making really, really good money, but it was going out faster than it was going in. I mean, he was throwing crazy parties that he shouldn't be throwing. He was doing a lot of drugs. He was,
Was he Asian?
No. He was a Western kid.
Western.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was like it was a very unhealthy lifestyle, and so a lot of the money was just going out. And at the time, like it ended up kind of a sad story because, you know, for me, I was mismanaging my money, but two, like this kid that taught me everything, started making excuses and, you know, asking to, you know, lend him money and whatnot, saying that, oh yeah, you know, I have a wire coming in, but I need to borrow money for this or that. Or he'd be like, hey, can you help me co-sign for this, like for this Hollywood apartment? Because like, you know, I'm under 18, so I need somebody to help me co-sign.
So you saw the red flags popping up.
At the time, not really, because I was so addicted to, you know, seeing what he had, you know, because I saw the asset mar and I saw, like, you know, all these things that he was doing. I saw him blowing all this money on things, and so I thought that, you know, I could be able to live this guy's life, and so I didn't really let the red flags sink in, if that makes sense. Yep, and so, long story short, I mean, I got completely screwed over by this kid. Just to give you an example, I mean, the Hollywood apartment that I helped co-sign with him, you know, it racked up like, you know, 5 figures in damages just on that. That you know, that I was on the hook for. Yikes. But I guess, like, as a lesson there, I learned that, you know, even affiliate marketing, it wasn't really something that was fulfilling for me. I made good money, but I was getting shut down really quick. It wasn't something that I could tell people, you know, and it wasn't something I could really be proud of. I mean, I was just
proud of, right,
setting up campaigns. I was, you know, looking at numbers the whole time, every day, sitting at a computer. It was like the same thing as poker. I was just sitting there looking at numbers, and it didn't really feel fulfilling for me.
Yeah, I mean, that sort of stuff when you're younger and you're a little bit less mature, it's you get, like you said, you're addicted to the money and the lifestyle and all that stuff. You're attracted to that, but then, you know, that's not really legacy. Like, how are you going to, you know, you're not proud of what you do. But when you look back, it's like, how did you make your money? Oh, well, I played poker and I did some kind of shady stuff to do affiliate marketing, and I made a bunch of money. And so it's like, are you really proud of yourself at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
No.
You know, it just wasn't something, you know, that fulfilled me. And so, you know, by the time I graduated college, you know, I walked the ceremony on a Saturday, and I had to start work on a Monday because I was basically in debt by the time I graduated college. And I was actually on the verge of going into bankruptcy too. But I knew that, but for me, like, I felt like I had to take responsibility. And so I had to try to settle with the collectors and, you know, work things out with them. And then I went to work on a Monday. I started working for a Dutch startup as you know, as a community manager, social media, do stuff like that. And that's when I started doing social media marketing. And then,
what kind of startup was it?
It was a company called Symbaloo. It's still around. And so they're a tech startup, and they focus on it's pretty interesting. I mean, it's when you go to symbaloo.com, you basically create these like visual. It's like a visual favorites bar. You know how you bookmark things on your desktop. Yep. So this one is like a visual bookmark, and you can share specific bookmarks with other people.
Okay, interesting. So you started off as a social media marketer, community manager there, and that's kind of where you started learning more about how to do social media marketing?
Yeah, and then about, like, I would say 6 to 8 months later, I started working for a company called Center Code, which was basically the #1 beta testing company. I would say you know, the #1 beta testing company in the industry. So, like, you know, they've done projects with Google, Logitech, a lot of big gaming companies. Like, they're like the masters when it comes to, you know, beta test management. And so so I started working with them, started learning about beta testing, and I was a marketing manager for them, helped write blog posts and copy. And then I think about, like, maybe a year working with them, I started branching off on my own, and I started doing social media marketing for myself. And so I started doing social media consulting work, and so I would help, let's say, small businesses like restaurants and you know, maybe small office companies, to help them drive leads through.
And what year was this?
This was back in I think 2011.
Okay, so this is sort of right when that space was still a little bit early. Like, now it's very, very, everyone, all the big corporations have Facebook, Twitter, blah, blah, blah. But back then, it was still kind of, the movement had just sort of started and gone mainstream, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I would say that it hasn't really, back then, I would say it wasn't really mainstream that much yet. I mean, right now, like, social media experts, quote unquote, are literally everywhere. I think back then, it was still, social media marketing was just starting to get, like, coined, and people were just starting to realize, you know, the potential of everything, you know? So, yeah, I started doing social media marketing, and I would help small businesses just like drive leads online, whether it's through Twitter, Craigslist, Facebook, what have you, help them set up their pages, like very simple stuff. And then and then over time, I started getting bigger clients. I mean, one of the biggest clients that I did was I did a project with Billboard and MGM. I mean, they did like a K-pop concert, and so I was a social media strategist to help them build engagement and ticket sales and set up social media campaigns for the event. And so we would work with some of the K-pop stars, some big celebrities, on creating cool campaigns to drive engagement to promote this concert.
How did you actually learn all this stuff? Was it just a matter of you sort of A/B testing stuff yourself and you kind of just researching online, or were there any influencers, guys that you looked up to online, whether it be or in the industry that you followed, that you learned specific tactics from?
No, it was all basically just like A/B testing myself, trial and error. I mean, for me, it's very simple. I mean, internet marketing is very, very simple, and so you're basically trying to find a way to arbitrage or pay for targeted traffic to a specific source, with the intention of getting that traffic to buy something or do something that builds your brand, right? And so a lot of the stuff that I learned through internet marketing, like pay-per-click, search engine marketing, kind of translated over to social media. So social media, in a sense, I really, really like social media, and I had a lot of passion for social media because there was one key difference between that and pay-per-click and social media. There was a human side of it where you could produce content, you could talk to people directly. I mean, there was like an engaging factor to it that made it interesting for me, if that makes sense. And it was much more interesting for me as well because I felt like social media was one of the few mediums that allowed you to generate a lot of buzz and traffic without necessarily paying like crazy amounts of money for it. Because with pay-per-click, I mean, you pay for the traffic and you try to make sure that whatever you pay for, you get more money back in returns.
That's right. So it's almost like more of a meritocracy. It's like if you do good work, if you say evocative copy, if a really good campaign, then you can get rewarded for that, and you don't have to pay for it.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, like I don't know if you're familiar with Old Spice, the deodorant. I mean, back then, this was like 2010, 2011. I mean, Old Spice was still not that recognizable, but then they did the whole like social media campaign with the Old Spice man, where he was basically answering questions live through every single social medium, whether it's Reddit, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. I mean, he answered questions all over. And within less than a week, sales for Old Spice skyrocketed, and they became the #1 men's body deodorant. In less than a week, just off that social media campaign. And something like that is much more powerful than paying for a billboard or paying for a TV spot. You know what I mean? So so that's why I was so excited about it. And
okay, so at this point in your life, you had branched off and you were doing sort of social media consulting on your own. You had your own business, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and then so what was the next step then?
Before I go on, I did read a book that was very helpful. So I guess for anybody that wants to, get a start on understanding, how to market online, like pick up the book called Inbound Marketing. It's written by the guys over at HubSpot. It's probably the best book that I've written in terms of like breaking down exactly how internet marketing works. And they break down every single medium too, whether it's social media, videos, SEO, and whatnot. So I think anybody that wants to learn, they should pick up that book.
Wow, inbound marketing. Okay, we'll have that in the show notes.
The next thing was, so this was like maybe 2000, maybe mid 2011. That's when I started, one of my clients was, brought me on board to help them on a project. And essentially, that client turned into an investor for my first company, which was newmediarockstars.com. And that was basically an online magazine focused on covering the digital entertainment space. And so back then, if you look at the whole ecosystem online, there was a rise, or internet celebrities like YouTubers and bloggers were really starting to pick up steam. And there really wasn't like a specific site out there that really covered that industry. I mean, there were mainstream media sites that were still covering like traditional media celebrities, but no one was really focused on internet celebrities. And so that's why I created newmediarockstars.com. And so he became my first investor. So for the next, like, I guess 2 years, like I was building this company, and we ended up doing really well. I mean, we had a lot of really high moments. Like, for example, like Justin Bieber tweeted our site twice. We've done like big projects. We did a lot of big interviews, like with let's say people like Brian McKnight, Bill Nye the Science Guy, all the top YouTubers at the time. And then in 2013, I sold that company to a company called Zella Networks. And then after that, I started NextShark.
Okay, wow. And then so NextShark is basically New Media Rockstars 2.0, kind of?
I mean, I think that it's, I guess you could say it's a 2.0 as a startup, but in terms of like direction, it's completely different, but you know, it's same industry. Obviously, it's still in the media industry.
Okay, so NextShark is. Tell us exactly what NextShark is. That's nextshark.com, right?
Yeah.
And what's your spin? I mean, because there's tons of news aggregators out there. There's tons of websites. The flood of content on the internet right now is almost unmanageable. So how does NextShark differentiate from any of the other sites that do similar things?
NextShark actually started off as like a online magazine on business and tech and entrepreneurship targeting millennials. And so back then, I was just trying to, you know, I thought that there was a need for entrepreneurship and business content targeting young, hungry, business-minded people. And we ended up doing relatively well. But you know, over time, I mean, I think that the company's been around for 3 years. And I would say like maybe about like 8 months ago, while we were getting really good traction, I felt, number one, I didn't really feel that fulfilled. And number two, I didn't really think that we were building the community, a strong enough community, you know, that I wanted, you know? And so I was just kind of just digging through our data, and, you know, I noticed something interesting. I mean, even like when I started, I noticed that a lot of our Asian-centric content was doing really well. So, for example, whenever we covered a startup in China, or whenever we, you know, covered an entrepreneur in Southeast Asia or something, or we covered news in that area, or even in the U.S., if we covered, you know, anything Asian-centric in particular, you know, we were getting a lot of engagement. And I'm not sure if it's because, like, you know, since I'm Asian and I have a lot of, you know, friends and, you know, friends on Facebook that are Asian that shared really well, but you know, we would get so much traffic and engagement and shares just off of that. And so I kind of realized that there was a need for this sort of content. And I would say 8 months ago, we actually pivoted the site to basically become a online publication focused on targeting the Asian youth market. And so we cover like very different verticals. Like we cover tech, culture, sports, fitness. It's basically a media destination targeted towards young English-speaking Asians across the world. And we think that there's a need for this, and we think that there is a big market for this because traditionally speaking, I mean, Asians in America and Asians in Asia are culturally different, right? You know, that's kind of like there's some differences there culturally and beliefs and everything. But I think that with the advent of entertainment and media, I feel like those and the internet on top of that, you know, those things are starting to really converge. If you look at, let's say, K-pop, right? Like K-pop as an industry, I mean, it's not just big in Asia anymore. Like it's really traveling to Europe. It's traveling to the US where, you know, where hundreds of thousands of people are attending these concerts in the West. And if you look at even Asians in Hollywood, I mean, a lot of like, you know, money from China is diving into Hollywood. And they specifically said that they're looking to put more Chinese and, you know, Asian characters into the big screen. And if you look at even in the YouTube space, a lot of these top YouTubers like Ryan Higa, Wong Fu Productions, I mean, you know, even though they're US based, their audience, they have a large audience all over Southeast Asia. And so I think that, you know, there is a commonality that we can meet on, and I think that there is interest. And so I think that for us, we look to produce content and we aim to be the voice for the Asian youth all over the world.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that because I think you're absolutely right. The trend is definitely going that way. I mean, Asia is blowing up. China obviously is a world player now. You cannot ignore what's going on there.
Yeah.
You know, and Southeast Asia is a huge market. I know, especially for the early stage scene. And entrepreneurship scene, and so I think you're doing. You know, I love what you guys are doing over there. You know, I follow you guys on Facebook and stuff, and I love your posts. Your posts are always really they're done really well. I have to say, you know, they're either calling someone out or they're really humorous, and it definitely has that Asian feel because. It's usually stuff that all Asians can relate to, so that's really good.
Yeah, that's our goal. I mean, that's really our that's our thing. I mean, we want something where, you know, it's kind of like, you know, I'm Asian and I can, you know, I get it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So exactly. Okay, so we got to look to wrap up here soon, Benny. But so what's in store next for NextShark? What do you see? What are your goals for 2017? How are you guys doing on sort of building the company out?
Yeah, I mean, we're doing really well. I mean, I think that now we get up to like, I think I would say on average 3 to 4 million readers a month. So 3 to 4 unique visitors a month. And we're growing from there. I mean, our video content is doing really well too. I mean, I think that we started video like on Facebook maybe a couple months ago, and we've gone over 75 million video views already on Facebook. And so, so in the future is we're definitely looking to really, we want to definitely do more original content. I think that curating and looking through other sources and then rewriting it is really cool. But I'm really passionate in traveling and going to interesting places and producing really cool and original content. And so I would say look out for more original content in the future and look out for more video content because we're going to be putting out a lot of cool stuff.
Fantastic. And so guys, you gotta go and check out NextShark.com. What's the best? I guess that's the best place to find you. And then you personally, are there any links or social media places that you would want me to direct the audience to? Yeah,
I mean, just NextShark.com. Tell them to like us on Facebook at facebook.com/NextShark. And then I have a Twitter too. It's twitter.com/BennyLu. And all that good stuff.
Okay, awesome. We'll get that all linked up. Benny, thanks so much for your time. It was really great catching up with you. We're excited that you're going to be on the show, especially because of the work that you do that's sort of focused on Asians and Asian Americans. So thanks again.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right. Good luck.
Good luck. Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. All the show notes and links can be found over at jkimshow.com. Come back often and make sure you subscribe, rate, and review. Don't forget to join us next week for another exciting episode of The J. Kim Show. I'd love to hear your comments. You can find me on Twitter at jkimmer, JAYKIMMER. See you guys next week. This podcast is brought to you by Hack Your Fitness, the high achiever's guide to getting ripped in under 3 hours a week. If you're anything like me, you're probably working a full-time job or jobs and trying to find time to balance family life, social life, and last but not least, fitness. Look, I get it. I'm a full-time investor and entrepreneur myself, and father of 2. So how am I able to stay fit year-round without spending hours and hours in the gym killing myself on the cardio machine? After struggling for the last 15 years trying every workout and diet under the sun, I finally designed a system that allows me to achieve and maintain single-digit body fat for life in under 3 hours a week. Cardio not required. Head on over to hackyour.fitness and download my free 13-page guide that teaches you the simple science behind efficient fitness and smart nutrition and gives you everything you need to know to finally take control of your life. That's hackyour.fitness.